Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real today. When a man truly loves an older woman, he don't talk to her like he talks to everybody else. No. He speaks from a deeper place, a more honest place, a place where his pride steps aside and his heart steps forward. See, older women bring something into a man's life that he didn't even realize he was starving for. Peace, maturity, steadiness, and a level of understanding he didn't think existed. Men admire older women for reasons that go far beyond appearance or momentary attraction. There is something deeply magnetic about a woman who carries herself with confidence, emotional maturity, and a calm, steady energy that younger women are still learning to develop. When a man encounters an older woman who knows who she is, what she wants, and what she absolutely will not tolerate, it creates a powerful shift inside him. She becomes different in his eyes, not because of age, but because of the strength and self-assurance that age has refined in her. A confident older woman walks into a man's life like a breath of fresh air. She doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't play pointless games, and she doesn't try to impress anyone. She simply exists in her authenticity, and that alone inspires respect. Men admire older women because they have already lived, learned, and grown through experiences that taught them how to love more deeply, but also how to protect themselves from disrespect. This balance of warmth and boundaries creates a sense of emotional safety around her, something a man rarely feels but deeply craves. A man may spend years needing to appear strong, confused, or invincible in front of the world, but with an older woman, he doesn't have to pretend. Her presence is calming, grounding. She listens without judging and speaks without trying to dominate. She has seen enough of life to know that people are complicated, emotions are messy, and love is not a battlefield but a partnership. This wisdom draws him closer because it gives him room to breathe. Men admire older women because they do not fall apart over small issues. They have learned the difference between problems that require worry and situations that simply need patience. Her emotional maturity teaches him stability, and her calm energy makes him feel like he finally has a place where he can rest. Older women also carry a sense of emotional generosity that feels rare. They know how to give affection without suffocating, how to give advice without controlling, and how to love without losing themselves. This inspires a man to love better, behave better, and show up with more honesty. When a woman has lived long enough to understand her own worth, that confidence radiates in everything she does. It shows in how she speaks, how she sets boundaries, how she invests her time, and how she responds to challenges. Men admire this because it shows reliability. She is not easily swayed by opinions, envy, or insecurity. She stands firm in who she is, and that stability creates a safe emotional world for a man who may have never experienced that before. Finally, men admire older women because they bring peace. In a world full of noise, chaos, and constant pressure to be more, earn more, and prove more, an older woman becomes a sanctuary. Her maturity helps him see things clearly. Her confidence teaches him how to stand stronger. Her balance reminds him what truly matters, and her calm presence gives him a kind of love that feels grown, tested, and deeply grounding. When a man loves an older woman, he learns very quickly that flashy words, big promises, and dramatic gestures don't mean anything if they aren't backed by consistency and sincerity. Older women don't get impressed by temporary sweetness or momentary attention because they've lived long enough to see how easily people can talk without truly meaning what they say. That's why when a man is genuinely in love with an older woman, he expresses that love through honesty and vulnerability. He stops hiding behind ego, pride, or the fear of looking weak. Instead, he starts speaking from a place of truth because he knows that authenticity is the only language she respects. Men who fall for older women don't try to pretend they're perfect. They admit their flaws, they share their fears, and they open up about the parts of themselves they've kept guarded for years. Older women have a way of making men feel safe enough to reveal the pieces of themselves they usually protect from the world. She doesn't judge him or belittle his emotions. She listens. She understands. Her maturity creates a space where he can finally be his full, imperfect, human self. And that sense of emotional safety encourages a man to speak with a deeper kind of honesty. He tells her things he never says to anyone else because he knows she won't use his vulnerability against him. Men also express love to older women through consistency. A younger woman might get swept away by romantic words, but an older woman is paying attention to what he actually does. Does he show up when it matters? Does he keep his word? Does he call when he says he will? Does he support her goals? When a man is truly invested, he begins to take responsibility for how he shows up in her life. He doesn't leave her guessing, doubting, or questioning his intentions. He makes it clear with his behavior, not just his voice, that she matters to him. Another powerful change happens in how he communicates. A man in love with an older woman speaks more gently, more thoughtfully. He chooses his words with care, not because he's trying to impress her, but because he respects her emotional world. He knows she has been through enough hurt in her past, and he doesn't want to add to it. He becomes more patient, more understanding, and more willing to communicate instead of reacting impulsively. Her maturity inspires him to grow emotionally, to handle conflict with calmness, and to express affection with clarity instead of confusion. A man also becomes more intentional with his compliments. Instead of commenting only on her looks, he admires her strength, her wisdom, her grace, and the way she carries herself. He tells her she makes him better, that she brings out the man he wants to be. And he says these things because he truly feels them. Older women draw out a deeper kind of love in men, a love based on respect, emotional depth, and a desire to build something meaningful and lasting. When a man is truly in love with an older woman, one of the things he expresses most often, whether through words, actions, or the softness in his behavior, is his appreciation for the peace, stability, and wisdom she brings into his life. Men spend so much of their lives dealing with pressure, unpredictability, expectations, and silent battles that nobody sees. So when an older woman enters his world with the ability to calm his mind and steady his emotions, it becomes something he deeply treasures. He'll find himself saying things like, "You make my life easier," or "I feel safe with you," because her presence doesn't add chaos to his world. It removes it. She becomes the quiet space where he can breathe again. A man recognizes that an older woman's wisdom did not come cheaply. She earned it through experiences, heartbreaks, lessons, and growth. That makes him admire her even more. Younger women may try to impress a man by showing what they think he wants to see, but an older woman impresses him simply by being real. She doesn't pretend, she doesn't perform, and she doesn't compete. Her honesty becomes her beauty, her steadiness becomes her charm. A man notices this immediately, and he begins to value the depth she carries. When he talks to her, he feels understood rather than judged. When she gives advice, he listens because he knows it's coming from a place of lived truth, not guesswork. There is something grounding about the way an older woman handles life. She doesn't get overwhelmed by small things. She doesn't create unnecessary drama, and she knows when to lean back instead of overreacting. This emotional maturity becomes a healing force for a man. He feels calmer around her because she brings clarity where others bring confusion. He starts telling her things like, "You make everything feel clearer," or "I think better when I'm with you." Men aren't used to feeling emotionally safe, so when they find that safety in an older woman, it affects them deeply. Another thing that happens is that he begins to admire her stability, not just emotional stability, but the way she manages her life. Older women have routines, standards, boundaries, and structure. They know how to take care of their responsibilities without fuss. They don't complain as much. They don't depend on him for validation. And they don't crumble under pressure. This kind of reliability inspires respect in a man. He understands that she is a partner he can rely on, not someone he has to rescue or constantly reassure. Because she carries herself with such inner peace, a man also finds himself speaking more gently to her. He doesn't want to disturb the calm she brings. He becomes softer, more thoughtful, more aware of his tone. Her maturity brings out the maturity in him. Her stability becomes something he works to match, and her peaceful energy becomes the sanctuary he returns to again and again. What older women may see is simply who they are. Men experience as a rare emotional refuge. Her presence helps him grow, think, relax, and become the best version of himself. That is why he praises her peace, her wisdom, and the way she keeps his life grounded, because it's exactly what he needed but never knew how to ask for. When a man truly loves an older woman, one of the most powerful things he expresses, sometimes in words and sometimes through actions, is reassurance that her age is not a flaw but an asset, something that actually deepens his attraction and respect for her. Older women often carry silent insecurities because society constantly tries to portray youth as the most valuable currency in love. But a man who has fallen for an older woman doesn't see her through that shallow lens. He sees the richness of her life, the depth of her experiences, the elegance of her maturity, and the strength that comes from surviving and growing through years of challenges. That is why he often says things like, "You don't need to look younger," or "Your age makes you even more beautiful," because he wants her to understand that what she thinks she's losing is exactly what he cherishes the most. A man in love with an older woman feels safe with her, and that safety becomes something he openly acknowledges. He is not intimidated by her wisdom or experience. Instead, he feels guided by it. He finds a kind of comfort in her presence that he rarely finds in relationships where insecurity or immaturity dominate. He tells her, "I feel like I can be myself with you," because she doesn't judge him for his weaknesses or punish him for his honesty. Her maturity gives him permission to let go of the mask he wears in front of the world. She becomes the one person he doesn't have to impress with bravado or perfection. Older women move differently. They know how to create peace without sacrificing boundaries. That balance becomes deeply appealing to a man who is tired of turbulence. When he says, "I feel more grounded with you," he means she brings him the stability he has been searching for. Men often live under silent pressures that they don't know how to communicate, and when an older woman brings emotional clarity into their life, they cling to that presence with gratitude. She reminds him that he doesn't have to fight everything alone. Another thing a man expresses to an older woman he loves is admiration for her independence. She has built her life, her identity, and her self-worth long before he arrived, and that makes her presence in his life even more meaningful. He tells her, "I love how you handle your life," because he genuinely respects her ability to stand strong on her own. She isn't with him out of need, she's with him out of choice. And for a man, being chosen by someone who doesn't need him but values him carries a powerful emotional weight. A man also reassures an older woman that her standards are not too much. He admires them. He appreciates the way she knows what she wants and refuses to settle for less. Instead of being intimidated, he feels challenged to rise to her level. He tells her, "Your standards make me better," because he knows her expectations come from self-respect, not ego. To him, her age is not a countdown, it's a crown. And he makes sure she knows it. When a man truly loves an older woman, one of the clearest signs is that he stops talking in temporary language and starts speaking in terms of building, planning, and envisioning a future with her. Older women don't entertain confusion, inconsistency, or halfway love, and a man who genuinely loves her knows this. That's why he doesn't waste time with vague promises or emotional ambiguity. He tells her things like, "I want something real with you," or "I see my future with you," because he understands she has already lived enough life to know the difference between a moment and a partnership. She isn't looking for someone to fill her evenings. She's looking for someone worthy of her heart, her peace, and her time. And a man who feels real love for her will rise to match that level of seriousness. Men often move slowly in love when they don't feel secure or when the person they're with brings chaos into their life. But with an older woman, the clarity she brings accelerates his intention. Her sense of direction, her emotional composure, and her ability to communicate maturely create a space where he can imagine something lasting. He begins including her in his decisions, seeking her opinion on things he once handled alone, and talking about goals that stretch into the future. He may say, "I want you to be part of what I'm building," because for the first time, he sees a partner who brings more than romance. She brings wisdom, stability, and purpose. Another reason a man talks about the future with an older woman is because she awakens a version of him he didn't know existed. Her presence makes him feel mature, focused, and centered. She doesn't push him to grow, she inspires him to grow. She doesn't demand that he level up, her standards naturally make him want to. This internal transformation makes him think long-term because he knows that she brings out the best in him. Men stay where they grow, and an older woman becomes the soil that nurtures his evolution. He also understands that older women value consistency over fantasy. They don't fall for dreams spoken in the moment. They trust actions that align with words over time. So a man who loves her doesn't just talk about the future, he starts preparing for it. He becomes more responsible, more intentional, and more reliable. He starts making choices with her in mind. He stops entertaining temporary situations and begins protecting the relationship with seriousness. He understands that her time is precious, and that alone makes him show up with integrity. A man also expresses future-minded love by speaking in ways that reassure her. Older women sometimes worry that younger men will eventually outgrow the relationship or seek something new, and he knows this. That's why he becomes clear about his commitment. He tells her she adds value to his life, that her presence gives him direction, that her maturity gives him peace, and that he is not looking for anything else. The future is not a distant concept for him. It's a place where he wants her by his side. And ultimately, he speaks about the future because he truly sees one with her. Her age doesn't shorten his vision, it sharpens it. Her maturity doesn't intimidate him, it anchors him. And her presence doesn't complicate his life, it completes the direction he always wanted to grow toward. When a man truly loves an older woman, one of the most powerful expressions of that love is how openly he values her standards, her boundaries, and her independence. Older women often think these qualities might push men away, but for the right man, they are exactly what pull him closer. A mature man appreciates a woman who knows what she will not accept because it makes him feel secure in herself, respect, and clear about what she expects from him. He isn't confused, he isn't guessing, and he certainly isn't intimidated. Instead, he feels motivated to rise to the level of the kind of man she deserves. He will say things like, I love the way you carry yourself. Or your standards make me respect you even more, because he sees how rare her strength is and how much integrity she demands simply by existing in her truth. Older women know their worth because life has taught them not to betray themselves for love. They don't bend just to be liked. They don't shrink themselves to make someone comfortable, and they don't tolerate disrespect in any form. When a man encounters this kind of woman, it changes how he behaves. He becomes more thoughtful, more intentional, and more respectful, not because he fears losing her, but because he genuinely admires her. Her boundaries don't feel like rules to him. They feel like guidance. They teach him how to love her in the right way, how to communicate with maturity, and how to show up consistently. He sees her independence not as competition, but as a beautiful strength. He loves that she can stand on her own, handle her life, and still choose to share that life with him. A man who loves an older woman feels honored to be part of her world, not responsible for holding it together. Another thing he expresses is gratitude for the emotional clarity she brings. Her boundaries come from lessons, not fear. Her independence comes from survival, not ego. A man respects this deeply because it shows her resilience. He may say, "You inspire me to be better," because her self-discipline and self-respect push him to evolve. Men often feel lost trying to guess what someone wants, but an older woman doesn't play guessing games. She tells him what she needs, how she feels, and what she expects. That honesty becomes a form of emotional safety for him. He knows where he stands. He knows how to love her. And he knows that if she chooses him, it's because he's worthy, not because she needs validation or company. He also praises her independence because it takes pressure off the relationship. She has her own goals, her own identity, her own life. She doesn't demand constant attention or expect him to fix her problems. Instead, she wants partnership, not dependence. This makes the connection stronger because both people bring strength to the relationship. He tells her he values her independence because it makes him feel like he is in a grown, equal, stable love, not a relationship built on insecurity. Ultimately, a man in love with an older woman expresses admiration for who she is, not who he wants her to be. Her standards make him step into his best self. Her boundaries make him love her with more intention. Her independence makes him respect her even more deeply. And instead of asking her to change, he embraces every part of the woman she has become through time, growth, and self-respect.